Do you think Shedeur might get a little bit of a bump and see some of those first reps with your starting offense in Philly?
Yeah, I'm not. We need to get through the next couple of days from an injury standpoint, Mary Kay, and see where everybody is. I'm really focused on all of our quarterbacks' development and every single one of these reps, like they are last night, how important they are. So that's what I'm focused on more than anything, Mary Kay.
Under the lights in Charlotte. They said the stage was set for nothing more than a preseason footnote. They said the NFL first snap, chew him up. It was clear this wasn't going to be another August scrimmage lost in the archives. The crowd roared. Shedeur Sanders, the rookie most people thought would need across the line to find his footing, stepped into the pocket and delivered like he'd been here for years. Everything to prove. 2 touchdowns, 0 turnovers. The pocket was waiting. A calm stare that never cracked. The critics were waiting to even when Carolina's every snap in this closed in. The numbers told one story. The energy told another. With every precise throw, this wasn't charity start. Every controlled escape, this was the kind of moment, every read that came just a fraction faster than the defense expected. The stadium's noise shifted from polite curiosity to something else. And a label project something heavier, permanent, something that felt like a city leaning forward in doesn't just reveal weakness. But then came the morning sometimes after. It revealed the part that didn't fit the script. The ball was snapped. Less than 24 hours later. Kevin Stefanski stood at the podium, his words wrapped in the kind of polished vagueness that leaves more questions than answers. Or own the night. We're in evaluation mode. This was just another August development. Patience. Ask yourself this. Process. If he'd stumbled, no commitment to more first-team reps. With a timeline, no signal that the door was even slightly open. Tonight, just the kind of safe language that protects plans and in Charlotte protects under the weight of every. So here's the question hanging over Shedeur Sanders began. Is this caution or a calculated choice to keep the rookie at arm's length? It's a countdown. Because Friday night didn't look like a fluke. It looked like discipline. It looked like a quarterback taking real NFL heat. It wasn't with banners or bold and turning it into points without giving the defense that whispers more than it shouts. And for a fan base that's lived through more false starts than any in football, from the moment he stepped into the contrast was jarring. The quarterback room on the field, a performance worth leaning into. Joe Flacco, off it, veteran, a head coach refusing to lean at all. The guy you call when the chaos hits. In the NFL, momentum, a recent arrival, still when you have it, you either ride it, but with or you risk letting it slip through your fingers before it ever had the chance to change your season. Future option in Cleveland. And then quarterback stories don't usually begin with hope. They begin with a list. No one so long, it's become an inside joke, a jersey covered in names, each one crossed out as another season slips away. From high draft picks who never found their rhythm, to stopgap veterans promised as saviors. The Browns QB carousel has spun for decades. A preseason starter. Tim Couch, they handed Brady Quinn to Sanders. Colt McCoy, but this Johnny Manziel. It was Baker Mayfield. Act with the names blur together in the NFL because they were the same, but because the endings always were. Only shot a flash of promise, a stretch of disappointment, then the slow march toward the next answer. Fans here have learned not to get too high too soon. They've seen moments, single games, even single quarters become cruel mirages. They've been told to be patient while the team finds the right guy. He was auditioning for his future. And every year, that patience series told a story. That's why Shedeur Sanders' debut didn't just register as another good night in August. The Panthers' defense cut through the noise, sitting tight. It felt different, pressing space. Not because daring the throws were pretty, though they were. Not because he played mistake-free football, was over. Though he did. Punt team, but because of how it looked onto the field, how it felt. That's the moment where how rare it is to see a young quarterback walk into chaos and for the carry himself like the room is his, slow start in August and deliver without blinking. Night in a city conditioned to expect the stumble before the stride. On the next possession, Sanders' first impression wasn't just refreshing; it was disarming. Browns fans didn't just watch a rookie quarterback. They watched a performance that challenged their muscle memory of disappointment. 10 yards from the end zone. Maybe, 10 yards from just maybe, everything. They saw something that could finally stop the carousel short from field spinning. Means short on paper, Shedeur Sanders' stat line nowhere to hide. 14 completions on 23 attempts. Hold it too long. 60.9% completion rate. 138 yards. But in that moment, 2 touchdowns. The question wasn't about noise. 0 turnovers. It was about nerve. But numbers alone can't capture what unfolded on that humid Friday night in Charlotte. The Panthers came after him. Sanders scanned the field. Sanders faced pressure on nearly half his dropbacks. A baptism most rookie quarterbacks fail. Carolina's front disguised looks. The Panthers were betting shifted blitzes late and tested every inch under center. feet planted, Shedeur never looked rushed. The cadence was calm, never looked panicked. No rush. His footwork was compact, his base steady. Snap. He slid within the pocket with the calm precision of a 10-year veteran, shaving angles off pass rushers. Sanders rolled until the right shoulder stacked. The first touchdown was textbook execution. Third and goal inside the red zone. And Carolina showing man coverage. Compact. Sanders read it pre-snap, confirmed it post-snap, into the throw, and waited just long enough for Caden Davis to shake free across the back line. And the ball left. The throw was a rope, released before Davis had even cleared his break, cutting between two defenders with the kind of anticipation you can't fake. It was the throw of a quarterback who understood. That was artistry. Midway through the second quarter, backed up near midfield, and put the ball Sanders rolled left, his non-throwing side. They don't see heavy pursuit. They see most rookies would tuck and run, discipline, or fire something safe to the sideline. They see someone not who here. Execute. Sanders snapped his hips back toward the field, in December, eyes locked on Luke Floria, and in that streaking down the seam. Under red zone pressure, for defenders closed in on the window. Wasn't playing. Sanders floated it just over the nearest pair, dropping the ball into Floria's. The question was whether Sanders could do it again. One-handed grab, or if that 30-yard gain. Was just the stadium didn't. The answer came immediately. On the very next possession, as if it needed a second to process what it had just seen. Every snap, and then the noise hit. The Panthers, but it wasn't only about the highlights. Tightened their splits. The true mark of his debut was what didn't happen. No panic throws into double Sanders coverage. Adjusted the pace. No rookie mistakes when the play collapsed. Even on the 2 sacks he took, Sanders protected the football to keep the minimize the loss and never let the fight the next settle into a rhythm. Those decisions, then came the throw. Those invisible wins don't show up on the highlight reel. Sanders kept his, but they win the trust of teammates faster than any viral shoulders stayed square. On Friday night, Shedeur Sanders didn't just put up numbers. He launched. He ran an NFL offense under real heat, but kept it clean, and proved he could do the one thing that separates starting quarterbacks dropping into his receivers, deliver when there's no room for error. The morning after Shedeur Sanders lit up the Panthers, the focus should have been on momentum. Carolina building from a debut that checked flooding the end zone windows. Instead, all eyes turned to the podium, where Kevin Stefanski delivered a masterclass in coach speak and found his man. We're in evaluation mode. Davis. It's about development, patience, and process. Touchdown. On the surface, nothing about those lines sound reasonable, accidental, responsible, it was calculated, but in NFL language, they can mean something that tells the other sideline. Evaluation mode often isn't about finding out if a player can do the job. And in less than it's about buying time before you decide when to let him do it. Shedeur Sanders turned his development from a can be code for he's not getting the promotion. When the teams walked into the tunnel, no matter what he just showed. The scoreboard read 14 in process 7. That's the shield every coach leans on. The real story was when the outside world is moving faster than Shedeur Sanders had. So what's the real holdup? Maybe it's the locker room hierarchy. Elevating a rookie too soon can shake the confidence of veterans the team has already invested in, especially quarterbacks with starter money and starter expectations. Maybe it's about avoiding a full-blown QB controversy before it was sustained execution. Something Cleveland knows can split a team in half. He'd taken a short or maybe and turned it into as simple as Stefanski wanted total control of when the Shedeur era. He'd answer pressure with movement. Because here's the truth. For the Browns, once you give a rookie first team those numbers didn't just there's no going back without sending a message. They forced a conversation. Every player in that locker room will know you saw enough to give him the keys, even temporarily. And if he delivers again, the calls to make it permanent become deafening. In his first Stefanski might not be protecting Shedeur like a placeholder, and more he might be protecting the Browns from the storm that comes when a rookie quarterback starts proving he belongs faster than the by halftime. From the outside, quarterback competitions look simple. Deion Sanders line them up, didn't wait, let them throw and crown the best. The moment his son's first inside the walls of an NFL facility, it's never that crime was on social media. Depth charts aren't just built on performance. They're built on investments, reputations, and promises made long before the first snap of preseason. No hashtags. In Cleveland, the quarterback room is a delicate ecosystem. Then the spotlight at the top sits Kenny Pickett, brought in with starter money and starter expectations. The front office didn't sign him calling to hold a Sanders a young king. They paid for stability, and in the NFL, that kind of check comes with a leash. Coming from a man behind him, knows there's Dylan Gabriel, a developmental project the Browns have quietly invested in. Draft picks aren't just names on paper. Social media, they're resources of Shedeur's time, coaching hours, and a year's worth of planning have already gone into grooming him for future role. Benching him in favor of another rookie before he gets a shot isn't just about a rookie quarterback. It's an admission that the plan might have been wrong. Then there's Joe Flacco, the veteran. He's not here to be the long-term answer. And when he carries something Stefanski values, it escapes the echo chamber. Flacco steadied the Browns when things went sideways. Film rooms start using the plays. In a sport where familiarity can be as comforting as talent, and that history matters. It's hard to shift. And finally, there's Shedeur Sanders, a fifth-round pick with a famous last name and a fraction of the financial commitment of those ahead of him. That matters more than most fans want to admit. Every touchdown drive was in the NFL, reps are currency, and teams tend to spend them on players they've already paid for. They can't. Giving those snaps to a late-round rookie isn't just a coaching decision. It's a shift in the organization's investment strategy. Sanders has earned his way into that rotation. That's the uphill climb Sanders faces. It's not just about proving he can play. It's about proving he's worth breaking the order the Browns spent months building. And when you factor in the media spotlight that comes with his name, the decision becomes even more loaded because in Cleveland's quarterback room, moving Sanders up isn't just moving a player. It's moving money, ego, and expectation. And those are the hardest things together. In NFL circles, the name Sanders doesn't just echo. The rookie learning curve. Deion Sanders wasn't just a Hall of Famer. And what replaces it? He was a phenomenon. The idea that a two-sport icon who could own a Sunday afternoon in the NFL and then steal headlines midweek in Major League Baseball. Back in the opening minutes, primetime didn't just play the game. They loaded the script. He shaped the culture around it. That legacy now lives in the sun. And for Shedeur Sanders, the name is both a gift and a challenge. It opens doors, draws attention, and guarantees that every throw he makes will be magnified. But it also means he's never truly playing in silence. Shedeur knows it. That's why, before Brown's training camp even began, he made an unusual request. He asked his father not to attend. Not because he didn't want support, but because he understood what even a glimpse of Deion in the stands would do. Cameras would follow. Headlines would shift. The story would become prime time in Cleveland instead of Shedeur in the quarterback room. But even without Deion physically present, the spotlight still found him. When Shedeur threw his first preseason touchdown, Deion's reaction was short and simple. The baseline of what Sanders 2 words, one tweet, and within hours, it had reached over 2 million people. That's the kind of gravitational pull to Sanders brand carries. When defenses are for fans, it's electric. The national media shows up. Highlights hit faster. Social media buzzes louder. Every big throw becomes a national conversation. That attention can energize a city, drive ticket sales, and put a team in the cultural spotlight in a way few rookies can. They all say the same thing. But for a head coach, it can be a headache because the same spotlight that fuels excitement also feeds pressure. Every decision about Shedeur becomes public debate. Every snap he doesn't take becomes a story. And every mistake he makes will be dissected in prime time. Because with the Sanders name, there's no such thing as the only reason he was here. For Shedeur, that's the reality. The name that can lift him higher than most rookies could ever dream. It's the same name that means he'll never get a fly under the radar. When Michael Irvin speaks about football, people listen. A Hall of Famer, and three-time Super Bowl champion, and a man who once shared a huddle with Deion Sanders. Irvin knows what greatness looks like up close. Every snap in this He's played beside it. He's competed against it. And when he sees it, he doesn't hand out compliments. This wasn't a charity start. After Shedeur Sanders' debut, Irvin didn't focus on the highlight reel throws or the viral one bad throw. Instead, he zeroed in on a moment that most fans wouldn't even remember. 3rd and 8, backed up at Cleveland's own 8-yard line. It's plays like this, Irvin said, that tell you if a quarterback can play in this league. The ball was snapped. Carolina brought pressure. Feet settled. The pocket was tight. And in that heartbeat, Sanders had to make a decision in under 2 seconds. Sanders made a choice. And he did, play small, sliding to his right, resetting his feet, if you think this was just delivering a strike to move the chains. Ask yourself, no panic. If he'd stumbled, wasted motion. The headlines have been just pure execution in a situation you already know many rookies fold. Tonight, for Irvin, that was the test. It changed. And in his eyes, Shedeur under the weight of that matters. Every doubt because when a Hall of Famer stamps a rookie with approval, it's not just flattery, it's influence. It's a players in the locker room. When the Cleveland Browns fans repeat it, and yes, front offices and coaches feel it. The endorsement of a legend carries a weight no
It wasn't
press
with
conference
banners or
can
bold
erase.
predictions.
For Kevin
It was the kind of
Stefanski,
draft slot
that weight
whispers
is
more
now
than it
part of the
shouts.
equation.
A flyer,
The moment
maybe a
Irvin
let's
went
see.
public,
From
the
the moment he
conversation
stepped into
around
the
Shedeur
facility,
shifted.
the quarterback
It wasn't
room
just
was
local
already
hype anymore.
crowded.
It was
Joe
a national
Flacco,
voice,
the
a
veteran,
football
the
authority,
steady hand,
saying this
the guy you
kid
call
is ready
when
for more.
chaos hits.
And once a
Kenny
voice like that
Pickett,
joins the
a
chorus,
recent arrival,
it only gets
still
louder.
adjusting to new
The NFL
colors,
loves to
but with
sell a
starter
simple
ambitions.
story,
Dylan
open
Gabriel,
competition.
the
May
mid-round
the best
pick
man win.
earmarked as a
Beat the guy in
future
front of
option.
you,
And then
the job is
quietly
yours.
added to the mix.
It's a great
Tyler
narrative for
Huntley,
fans.
the insurance
It
policy.
sounds fair.
No
But
open
behind the
arms.
curtain,
No open
reality
mic. Just
is
a hierarchy
far
that didn't have room.
Depth charts
for a
aren't
rookie
just
with
about
no
talent.
pro snaps.
They're about
And the
contracts,
game changed.
reputations,
Not on
and
the
promises
field,
made
but in the
long
trainer's
before
room.
camp opens.
Hamstring issues
When a
took
team
both
spends
Pickett
starter
and
money on a
Gabriel off the
quarterback,
board.
they're not
Suddenly,
eager to watch him
the
get
Browns needed a
leapfrogged
preseason
after one
starter.
preseason game.
They handed the role
When a coaching
to
staff
Sanders.
spends a year
But this wasn't a
grooming
gift.
a developmental
It was a
project,
high-wire act
they're
with
reluctant
no
to
safety
toss
net.
that plan aside.
In the NFL,
no matter how
reps are
hot
gold.
the new rookie
And this was
looks.
his first.
That's
and
the
possibly
unspoken
only
tension
shot to
with
show the
Shedeur
coaching
Sanders.
staff he belonged
Promoting
in the
him
conversation.
too quickly
Every throw
doesn't
would be
just
studied.
change the depth
Every
chart.
read judged.
It risks
One
shaking the
clean
locker
night
room's
could
balance.
rewrite his place.
Veterans
in
can
the
see
depth
it as a
chart.
signal that
One stumble,
contracts and
and a
tenure
fifth-round rookie
no
would
longer
slide
carry
back
weight.
into anonymity.
Teammates loyal
Tonight,
to other
he wasn't just
quarterbacks
taking
might
snaps.
read it as a
He was
power
auditioning
shift.
for his future.
And then there's the
The
coaching
first series
perspective.
told a story
Once a
the
rookie gets
Browns
first
didn't
team
want
reps,
told.
the clock
Safe
starts.
calls, short
Every good
throws.
drive
The
becomes an
Panthers'
argument for
defense
keeping him
sitting
there.
tight,
Every bad
compressing
drive
space,
becomes a public
daring the
referendum.
rookie to take a risk
There's no putting
he
the
didn't want to
genie
take.
back in the bottle
3 snaps
without
later,
creating
the drive was
controversy.
over.
So
Punt
coaches
team
manage
trotting
it.
onto the field.
They control the pace.
That's the moment where
they talk about
doubt
process
can
and
creep in
development
for the crowd,
not
for the
because the
coaches,
player
and
isn't
for the
ready,
quarterback
but because the
himself.
timing
A
might not
slow
be
start
right
in August
for
can
them.
turn into a
In a
long
perfect
night in
world,
seconds.
the best man
Then the
really
game
does win.
cracked open.
In the
On the next
NFL, the
possession,
best man
Carolina's
sometimes
return
waits
man
because
lost
the
the
bigger
handle.
game
The
isn't
ball
just
hit the
played on
turf.
Sundays.
A scramble of
It's
jerseys.
played in meeting rooms,
And when the dust settled,
contract
Cleveland had it.
negotiations,
First
and the
down,
politics of keeping a
Panthers'
roster
10-yard
in line.
line.
If
10
Shedeur
yards from the
Sanders'
end zone.
debut was the
10
spark,
yards from
the
changing
Philadelphia
everything.
Eagles could
This
be
is
the
where
fire
rookies
that
can
either
shrink.
ignites his rise
Short field means
or
short
snuffs it out.
windows.
On
quick
paper,
decisions,
it's just another
nowhere
week
to
of
hide.
training camp.
Float a pass
In
late,
reality,
and it's a pick.
joint practices
Hold it
against
too
one of
long,
the
and the
NFL's
rush
fiercest
swallows
defenses
you.
are a
The
proving
stadium
ground,
buzzed,
unlike
but in that
anything
moment,
preseason
the question
games
wasn't
can
about
offer.
noise.
Why?
It was about
because
nerve.
joint practices
Would
strip
Shedeur
away the
Sanders flinch,
preseason vanilla.
or would he step
No
in a throw
simplified
that could flip the
coverages,
entire night?
no
The
watered
huddle
down
broke.
blitz packages.
Sanders scanned
the Eagles'
field.
defense,
Helmet
fresh
tilting as
off
his
a playoff
eyes
run,
traced
will bring
every
the same
defender's
heat
stance.
they give their own
Two high
starters.
safeties.
Pass rushers like a
Linebackers tied to
green
the
blur
box.
coming
The
off
Panthers
the
were
edge.
betting the rookie
Corners
wouldn't read
jamming
it
at the
fast
line.
enough.
Safeties
He settled under
disguising
center,
coverage until the
feet
last
planted,
possible
hands
heartbeat.
steady.
And
The
unlike in a
cadence was
game,
calm.
the reps
No
here
rush,
are targeted.
no wobble
Coaches
in the voice.
deliberately put
Snap.
quarterbacks
The play
in
was designed
unfavorable
to move the
situations.
pocket, cut
Third
the
and
field
long,
in half,
red zone
and
compressions,
force a decision.
2-minute drills
Sanders
to
rolled
see if they can
right,
handle
shoulder
playoff
stacked,
caliber pressure in
eyes
real
still
time.
downfield.
For Sanders,
The
this
flat
is the
defender
hinge point.
drifted forward,
Light it up
just a
against
step,
Philadelphia's
and that was
starters.
enough.
And the calls
His
for
base
him to
stayed
work with
compact.
Cleveland's one's become
No wasted
impossible
motion.
to ignore.
No leaning
He'll
into
have
the throw
proven
like
his
he was
poise
muscling
wasn't a
it.
one-night
The wrist
flash.
stayed loose.
It travels,
the release quick,
even against
and the ball
elite
left his
talent.
hand on a
But
frozen
struggle
rope.
here.
7 yards
Stefanski
later,
is cover.
the receiver
He can point to the
crossed the
tape,
goal line.
say the rookie
Touchdown.
still needs seasoning.
It wasn't the throw
and
of a
keep the
desperate
depth
rookie.
chart as is.
It was the throw
That's
of
the
a
razor's
quarterback
edge
who
Sanders
understood
will
timing.
walk this week.
Hold a
In
defender
the NFL,
just long enough,
moments like this
trust the
are
route,
rare
and
and
put the ball where only
unforgiving.
your guy can touch
They
it.
don't just test
Coaches
your
see
ability.
that.
They
They
test
don't
your
see
readiness
adrenaline.
to seize
They
the
see processing
opportunities in
speed,
front of you.
discipline,
And when the whistle
and
blows
repeatable
in
mechanics.
Philadelphia,
They see
every
someone who
throw
can
will
execute
matter.
the same
Not just for
throw
August,
in
but
September,
for where
in
Shedeur
December,
Sanders
in
stands in
January.
September.
And in
It
that
didn't take
moment,
long for the
under
city
red
of
zone
Cleveland to
pressure,
make
Shedeur
its
Sanders
opinion known.
wasn't playing to
Within
survive.
minutes of Shedeur
He was
Sanders
playing to
walking
belong.
off the field,
After that first
X/Twitter
the question
lit
was
up
whether
like a
Sanders
scoreboard.
could do it again.
Local fans
or if
posted
that
clips
opening
of the Luke Floria catch and the Katie Davis touchdown on repeat.
The very next
Some caption with 5 plays.
QB1
is
60
already
yards.
here. Every
Others
snap
were
a
less
chess move.
subtle.
The Panthers if he doesn't get first team reps this
their
week,
splits.
what are we even
dropping
doing?
An extra man into the
wasn't
box
just
to clog
Cleveland's
quick
corner of
throws.
the internet.
Sanders
National
adjusted the
accounts
pace.
picked it up.
No panic,
NFL Network
no hurry.
analysts
He used to check
reposted the
down when it
highlights.
was there.
Even
hit the
neutral
sideline
fans
routes
weighed in,
to keep the
calling
chains
Sanders'
moving
performance the
and never let
cleanest
the
QB
defense settle
debut
into a
of the
rhythm.
preseason.
Then came
The conversation had
Rolling to
escaped
his
the
left,
city and
pressure
gone
at his
league-wide.
back. Sanders
Local
kept his
sports
eyes
radio
locked
piled
downfield.
on. with hosts turning Monday morning segments into open debates about whether Stefanski was holding the team back.
Not a heave,
Meanwhile,
not a prayer,
national pundits
but a
framed it
perfectly
as a
arced
classic
deep ball
Cleveland
that traveled
hesitation,
30 yards in
finding
the air,
something good,
dropping into
then
his
being
receiver's
too
hands like it
slow
was placed
to
there.
embrace it.
The catch,
And running under all
one-handed,
was a
right at the
familiar
boundary,
undercurrent.
sent the sideline surging.
Not fear of Sanders
Carolina
failing,
tried to adjust
but
again,
fear of
flooding
missing
the
the
end
moment.
zone windows.
Browns
on the next
fans have
snap.
lived
Sanders
through
didn't
too
bite.
many what could
He
have been
worked
seasons.
through his progression.
They've watched momentum
ignored the
die on the
baited
vine
coverage,
because
and
of
found his
cautious
man,
decisions.
Caden Davis,
Now, they see
slicing
a quarterback
across
who
from
brought a
12 yards out.
level of poise
Strike.
and execution this city
Nothing about that
hasn't
drive
seen in
was
years,
accidental.
and they're
It was
terrified that
calculated,
hesitation will cost them
patient, and
again.
ruthless.
In Cleveland,
The kind of
public
drive that
pressure
tells the
isn't
other
background
sideline,
noise.
this isn't
It's an
luck.
active
This is what I
force.
can do to you.
It seeps
over
into
and over
locker
again.
rooms,
And in less
into
than
talk
3 minutes
shows,
of game
into the
time,
very air
Shedeur
around
Sanders
the
turned his
facility.
debut
And
from
right
a
now,
highlight into a headline.
it's all pointed in
When
one
the teams
direction.
walked into the
Give
tunnel,
Shedeur
the
Sanders a
scoreboard
real
read
shot
14
before the
to
moment
7
passes.
in Cleveland's
Strip
favor.
away the
But
headlines,
the real story was
the
on the
name,
stat sheet.
and the politics.
In just 2 quarters,
and you're left
Shedeur
with the
Sanders
tape.
had
And the
gone
tape
11
says
for
Shedeur Sanders
18,
is ready for
103
more.
yards through the air.
Start with
2
processing
touchdowns
speed.
and 19 yards
The
rushing.
split-second
No
recognition
interceptions.
that separates the
No
promising from the
reckless throws
throws
into traffic.
against Carolina.
Every completion had a
Sanders
purpose.
identified man
Every
coverage
drive
before
had
the
rhythm.
snap,
This
confirmed
wasn't
it
a
after,
rookie
and
flashing
delivered
once
throws on
and
rhythm
fading.
without holding the
It was
ball
sustained
hostage.
execution.
That's not
across
just
multiple
instinct.
possessions.
That's
He'd taken
preparation
short field
meeting
and turned it
execution.
into points.
Then there's
He'd
blitz
engineered
recognition.
a long march
The Panthers
capped
didn't
with a
sit
strike.
back. They
He'd
tested
answer
him with
pressure with
disguised
movement,
pressures.
not panic.
Twice.
For the
Sanders
Browns coaching
shifted
staff,
protections at the
those
line,
numbers didn't just
sliding his
fill a
offensive
box score.
line to
They
pick up
forced a
extra
conversation.
rushers.
Because
Both
in
times,
the NFL,
it bought him
you
the
don't give
fraction
more
of a
reps to a
second
quarterback
needed to
who might
deliver
be
a
ready
clean ball.
someday.
Most
You give
rookies
them to
don't
the
even
one
see the
who's
blitz
showing you
coming
right now.
until it's in their lap.
And on this night,
His pocket
in his first
presence
taste of pro
might be the most
football,
impressive
Sanders
piece.
looked less like a
Sanders doesn't
placeholder
just stand
and more
tall.
like a player
He
demanding
glides.
to be in the room.
Subtle
when
slides,
QB1
two
decisions
steps
are made.
here, one
The
hitch
first
there,
ripple started
just
on
enough
the
to
Browns
reset his
sideline.
throwing
By
lane
halftime,
without
it
abandoning
had
play.
reached living
It's a
rooms
skill
across the
veterans
country.
spend
Deion
years
Sanders
trying to
didn't
master.
wait for the
And when the
post-game
pocket
show.
did collapse,
The moment his son's
Sanders
first
didn't panic.
NFL
No
touchdown
wild
hit the end
backpedals
zone.
into sacks.
Coach Prime was
no
on social
blind
media with a
heaves into
simple,
coverage.
emphatic
He either
yes.
escaped with purpose
yes.
or took
When
the
the second
safe
score
loss,
landed,
living
he
for the
doubled
next
down.
down. These
Oh,
aren't
yeah, what
flukes.
now?
They're
No
habits.
hashtags needed.
Habits that
Everyone
usually
knew
take
who
seasons to
and what he was
develop.
talking about.
Showing up in a
Then the
rookie's
spotlight
very
grew
first
brighter.
NFL action.
LeBron James,
You can't coach that into someone
Ohio's
in a month
biggest
of camp.
sports icon.
You either have
Wade
it
in
or you
mid-game,
don't. And
calling
on Friday
Sanders a
night,
young
Shedeur
king
Sanders
and
showed
dismissing
beyond
the
a
lazy
doubt
narrative
that he
that it
does.
was only
In the
preseason.
NFL,
Coming from a
opportunity
man who
doesn't
knows
knock
exactly
forever.
what it's like to
It
carry
barely
the
knocks
weight
at
of
all.
the city.
Windows
That
open
wasn't
for a
casual
moment.
praise.
And if you don't climb
It was an
through,
endorsement.
they slam
On social
shut.
media,
History
clips
is
of
littered with
Shedeur's
teams that
throws
waited too
flooded
long
timelines.
to ride the hot
Hashtags
hand.
trended.
Think back to
Fans
Kurt
and
Warner in
analysts alike
1999.
dissected his
An
mechanics,
injury to
his
Trent
poise,
Green
his
forced the
reads.
Rams' hand.
The conversation
and they
wasn't
leaned into
just
the
about a
unknown.
rookie quarterback.
The result?
It was
A
about
Super Bowl
challenging
title,
the stereotypes
or
that
Tom
too
Brady
often
in
frame
2001,
young black
stepping in
QBs
for
as
Drew
flash
Bledsoe.
instead of
If
craft.
New England had
And when that
hesitated,
conversation
the
gets loud
dynasty
enough,
might
it
never have
escapes
happened.
the echo chamber.
But there are just as
Coaches are
many
asked about
examples
it
of
in
the
pressers.
opposite. Teams
Film
who
rooms
stalled.
start
The
using
2012
plays as
49ers
teaching
almost
tape.
let
The
Alex
narrative
Smith
shifts,
return to the
and
starting job
once it
after
shifts,
injury,
it's hard to
despite
shift
Colin
back.
Kaepernick's spark.
In the NFL,
The Jets
reps
once
are
sat a
currency,
red-hot
and
Chad
tonight,
Pennington
Shedeur Sanders
behind
just
Vinny
cashed in
Testaverde,
big.
only
Every
to watch the
clean
season
throw,
slip away
every composed
before
read,
making the change.
every touchdown
Momentum in
drive was like
football
printing his
is
own
fragile.
practice snaps
It's built
for
on
weeks ahead.
confidence.
Coaches
in
don't
yourself,
ignore that kind of
in your
tape.
teammates,
They can't.
in the plan.
When the next
Every
practice
week
script
you
is drawn
delay
up,
can drain
it's
that
not
energy,
just going to be Joe
both in the
Flacco
locker
taking
room
the scripted
and in the
first team
stands.
reps.
That's the
Sanders
risk
has
with
earned his
Shedeur
way into
Sanders.
that rotation.
Right now,
More
the
play-action
city is
keepers,
buzzing.
more deep
His
shot
teammates have
designs,
seen him deliver.
more chances to
the
show
fan
that
base
what
feels
happened
that
against
rare
Carolina
combination
wasn't a
of
one-off.
hope and proof.
And if the
But
momentum
wait too
holds,
long,
the
and
depth
electricity
chart starts
fades.
to wobble.
It turns into
Pickett
second
and Gabriel
guessing.
may be
It
working
turns
their way
into
back from injury,
what if we'd made the
but
move
nothing
when we
is
had the
guaranteed.
chance?
Tyler
Stalling a
Huntley
hot hand doesn't just cost games, but insurance doesn't win games. And for Cleveland, a franchise all too familiar with regret, this moment is dangerous. Because if they hesitate now, they might not just lose momentum, they might lose the moment entirely. The idea from the first throw under the Friday Night Lights to the final whistle, Shedeur Sanders delivered the kind of debut coach's dream. Back in the opening minutes, 2 touchdowns, No
They loaded
turnovers.
the script before the
Poise
game
under pressure.
even started.
He faced
Too
real
raw,
NFL heat.
too hyped.
He read the
not
field.
ready.
He made
They were
veteran-level
waiting for the
decisions.
first overthrow,
And he did it
the
all
first
without
sack,
blinking.
The first
That's not
rookie
preseason
mistake to
hype.
say,
That's
"Told you
tangible,
so."
winning
But
football.
that moment never came.
Which brings us back to the
Preseason
question
is
that's been
supposed to
hanging over
strip away
Cleveland
the
since the
shine,
morning after.
to turn stories
Is this
into
about
statistics
football
and reveal
or
the cracks?
Is it about fear?
Instead,
Because if it's
Shedeur
about
Sanders
football,
turned it into a
the answer is
showcase.
simple.
Under the
You
lights,
reward the
against
performance.
NFL speed.
You give him the reps
He
he's
didn't
earned.
flinch.
You put
He
him in
didn't
with the
chase
ones
highlight
and
reel
see if the ball
chaos.
looks the same.
He played
And if it
grown man's
does,
football,
you don't just have a
patient,
rookie. You might have your
calculated,
quarterback
and
of the
deliberate.
future.
He took a shaky
But if it's about
first drive
fear,
and built
fear of
momentum.
locker room
He turned a
politics,
short field
fear
into
of rocking
points
the
with
depth
surgical
chart,
accuracy.
fear of the storm
He
that comes
engineered
with
a
the Sanders
signature
name.
drive.
Then the
that
Browns
looked
are
like
playing a
something from
dangerous game.
quarterback twice his
Opportunities
age.
like this don't come
And he
often.
did it all.
A young
without letting the
quarterback
moment
walks
speed him
into
up.
chaos,
If this is the
owns the
floor,
moment,
the
and gives the
baseline
city
of what
both
Sanders
hope
can
and
do
proof.
in his very
That's
first
lightning
taste
in a
of pro
bottle.
football.
You either ride it,
Then what happens
or you
when
spend the
playbook
rest of the
expands?
season wondering
When the
what might have
chemistry
been.
with his receivers
So here's the
is
challenge.
sharper.
Cleveland,
When defenses are
stop
forced to
talking
game
about
plan for him
evaluation
at the start.
mode and
That's
start
when the
talking
conversation
about winning.
shifts from
Put Shedeur
promising
Sanders in with the
rookie
ones.
to problem.
Let
for
the kid
rest of
prove
the
it
league.
wasn't just one
So
night.
to the haters who
It's who he
swore
is.
this was just
Because
hype,
if you're not willing to find
the
out,
film says
maybe the real
otherwise.
question
The
isn't whether
scoreboard says
Shedeur
otherwise.
is ready for you,
The poise,
but whether you're
the
ready
reads,
for him.
the